Yo, this is my Zenless Zone Zero versus Wuthering Waves video. I'm making this video because a lot of people out there are saying that Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero are competition. And when I was playing Wuthering Waves when it first came out and I was hearing about that, I thought, why? Because I played Genshin Impact a little bit, never played Star Rail, but I saw enough gameplay to know it's not for me. And I was like, well, this is the company made, and I also played that other game they made a long time ago, like Honkai Impact Third or whatever it's called. Um, but I was just like, oh, well, I've got Action Time then, so there's no reason to play that game. Because it's just basically Action Time and with no fan service. So yeah. But with this game, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have any reason to play it. I'm loving Wuthering Waves. So, but it came out. I was like, oh, try it out. And you know what? I gotta say, I'm really impressed with this game. This game has blown my expectations out of the water. Um, it's insane how good this game is actually because of a couple things. First of all, one of the biggest selling points I'd have to give this game over Wuthering Waves is that they actually give you a badass male character at the start of the game. Billy the Kid. You know, he's got some quirks. He's kind of like Deadpool, but at the end of the day, he's still a man. He still like gets shit done. So they give you a badass male character at the beginning of the game, and they give you two badass female characters at the beginning of the game. There's plenty of badass female characters in Wuthering Waves, but when it comes to badass male characters in that game, there's only like really one. It's more Teffy. Gion was supposed to be a badass, but they basically made him a crybaby that runs away from fights. So, yeah, when it comes to badass male characters in the story of the game, Wuthering Waves doesn't really have any right now. Maybe more Teffy, but he's more kind of like a scientist guy that just, you know, is like a pencil pusher kind of guy that just like does like research. He's not like a guy that actually is in the thick of things and like doing shit. Billy the Kid is, so already a massive selling point there. And as you can see, Billy's, not got a mouth or anything, but they actually do animate him and they put in the effort to give him facial expression. So it's not like they did it just as an excuse to cut costs for like their game. It's like, no, they actually went out of their way to make him look like he can emote and all that stuff. And he gets like pink lines on under his eyes to show he's blushing and stuff. So it's like, yeah, they actually went out of their way to make him a really good character. The English voice acting is a 10 out of 10. All the voices fit the characters perfectly. Unlike with Wuthering Waves, there's a lot of hit and miss voices in that game. The actual like characters' voice lines are better too when you're playing them. They'll actually like say stuff to each other, so it actually feels like you're playing a team of three characters, at least with Anby, Billy, and Nicole. Maybe it's not that way normally, but with those three characters, if you play those three characters, they'll actually talk to each other and say stuff to each other. So it's actually like you're playing a team of three people instead of just playing three characters on a team. So another massive selling point. And then the story, the way it's told is just better. It's very, the animations are a lot more fluid. You even get some like POV shots from Billy when he's running, and that looks really cool. And then when there's not cutscenes, sometimes it has this talking stuff, but actually a lot of the time it has like this comic book style, which is really cool. And it still has voice acting over the comic book style. All the characters it just seems like their voices fit them perfectly. I know there's some people that complain about the character on the left because she kind of sounds like a robot, but it turns out she actually, I think, is a robot. She's basically just 2B. So if we ever get a crossover from that game, we might get a 2B skin for her, which would be awesome. So yeah, I mean every character in this game's great. I haven't found a single character yet I don't like. Billy at times can be annoying, but that's supposed to be his part of his character. That's part of his charm is that he kind of says stupid shit from time to time. So like it fits him as a character. It's not like with Gian where it's like he starts acting like a pussy in the story and you're like, well, that's actually not who Gian is as a character. It's like when Scar runs away, it makes sense because that's the kind of character he is. It doesn't make sense for Gian to run away. So yeah, the Kuro really fucked up with Gian and their story. So far, Mihoyo hasn't fucked up even one character, even slightly, in their story, and they're all amazing voice acting. So if you care about story in a gacha game, you care about characters in a gacha game, you care about that stuff in a gacha game on your phone, then yeah, I would say don't even bother installing Wuthering Waves. It's a waste of time. But I still prefer. I'll say this: I still like Wuthering Waves better than this game. But that's because I'm not really in it for story usually. I'm in it for the gameplay. And I think this game does have really good gameplay. So as an overall game for everything, this is probably better than Wuthering Waves. But for gameplay, I prefer Wuthering Waves. I like the complexity of Wuthering Waves. I like build diversity and all that stuff. I like to, theory craft. I like to do all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of person I am. But with this game, it's a lot more kind of streamlined, a lot more kind of simplistic. It's just kind of getting into the action. One thing though that is really nice about this game too, the reason why I'm here on the screen just because I don't want to spoil anything, so I can just go skip and get straight into the gameplay. But yeah, one of the things about this game too that's nice about the combat is the parry mechanic. They kind of have a parry mechanic in this game, but it's tied to the swap button instead of the attack button, like it is in Wuthering Waves. In Wuthering Waves, it's tied to the attack button, so you can accidentally parry in that game. I accidentally parry all the time in that game, and a lot of time it's okay, but there are a lot of times too where because of the mini pause with the parry, it kind of fucks my combo up, and I get hit, or I don't do the right string, and then I don't do as much damage, or whatever the case is. You can't turn the parry system off in the game, so it's just a annoying thing you have to deal with. Unlike with Dark Souls, where it's completely optional. This game, it's not entirely optional, but it's much better because it's tied not to the attack button, which is the thing you're going to be hitting all the time. It's tied to the swap thing, which is the thing you're going to be hitting sometimes. So, also, the dodging in this game is a bit more forgiving too, so you don't have to be as precise with your dodges. And again, I think for me that might be a downside, but for like your average player, especially your average phone player, that's a plus. I don't think that means that this game has easier combat than Wuthering Waves. Maybe it does. I think it's probably just more of that it has a lower barrier to entry. But in terms of like the complexity of the combat, yeah, it's not as complex as Wuthering Waves. But in terms of like, you don't have to have a complex combat system for it to be harder. You can have a super hard combat system with one button. You can have a super hard combat system with like three buttons. If you have 20 buttons, it doesn't mean it's going to be hard. Like World of Warcraft has like 100 buttons, and classic WoW in that game you only hit one button when you raid. So yeah, it doesn't matter if the game has 1,000 buttons. What matters is if the combat's actually designed in a way that's good, and all that. So this game, I just say, has a lower barrier to entry, which I think is a pro overall for the game. Only downside, and this coming from a mobile gaming perspective, by the way, only downside is you can't customize the UI in the game at all, the button layout or the size of them. So for me, I'm a big guy. I have big thumbs. So for me, it's a massive handicap to play the game. So I'm playing the game on hard. I'm able to get through the content pretty well, no problem. But at the end of the day, it's annoying that a lot of my gameplay is focusing on my thumb rather than the enemies to make sure I don't hit the wrong button or make sure I hit a button. So sometimes I might not be able to get dodges off that I normally would be able to get off in Wuthering Waves, no problem. Because in Wuthering Waves, they do actually let you customize the UI. Not as well as like something like Snowbreak. They need to update their UI customization in that game. So if you're Mihoyo and you give us customizable UI and you don't have any restrictions on it, like Wuthering Waves, then you'll be better in that department too. So you have some time right now to actually outdo Kuro right now in that department. So if you get on that, I don't know how much money or resources it costs to implement something like that. But my opinion, I think that should just be the standard for all mobile games. I think it's ridiculous that you have to play the game in the key binding setup the developer chose. It's like, just give the player the option to make the key bindings the way they want, and then try to make one that's like mainstream so that the people that can't be bothered to do it won't do it, but the people who want to actually play your game can play your game on a phone instead of having to go buy like a controller for their phone or even just gain a PC or a console. That's ridiculous. So add in a way to customize the UI, and then if you do it right now, you might even be able to do it better than Wuthering Waves, and then you'll be able to say that, oh yeah, Wuthering Waves, well, they let you customize your UI kind of, but in this game you can customize it all the way. Yeah, it's another way to outdo Kuro. But anyways, I'm gonna see if I can get into gameplay. Quick. Another thing. Oh, here's this TV mode. TV mode is another thing about this game. Is kind of annoying. I've been seeing a lot of people say that they should just remove this. I don't think they should remove this. What they should just do is let you skip it, and if you skip it, you only get like 20 or 30% of the rewards. So that way, maybe if you skip all of them, you lose like 50 polls or whatever. So it's like, hey, if you really want to get all those polls, you have to sit through this shit. And if you don't want to sit through this shit, then you don't. And then you learn you lost 50 polls. And then you're like, oh, well, if I'm a free-to-play only person, then I got to do the stupid shit of re-rolling and, sitting through content I don't care about, right? But if you're like, hey, I don't want to go through that dog shit, I'm willing to spend maybe like $50 down the road on this game, then you can just skip this shit. It's like you don't get as many rewards, whatever. I'm able to skip it, and I'll just give Mihoyo some more money at some point so that I can offset skipping it. I'd rather do that than sit through a bunch of content I don't give a fuck about. And then if you're a free-to-play only person and that's not an option for you, well, then I guess you're going to have to sit through content you don't want to play, because guess what? You're not giving the company money. Why should they, roll out the red carpet for you? Like, what? But for the people who are probably going to spend money on this game, or might want to spend money on this game, or even put players in position where if they don't want to spend money on this game, they can't get everything they want, and the people who do want to spend money on this game can get some more quality of life things, and I think that's the way they should do it. So anyways, as you can see, the combat is pretty good. It's very flashy. It's another thing that's nice about this game, unlike Wuthering Waves. You kind of do have to go out of your way to do flashy things in that game. So I guess the flashiness in Wuthering Waves is kind of like a testament to your skill. But in this game, you're always going to get flashy gameplay. So that's the kind of nice thing, too, about it, is it's a fun game that anyone probably will be able to play and have fun playing. I'm playing on the harder difficulty, so even if this is hard for you, you can just play it on the easy casual mode. So they really kind of are like, we want everyone to play our game. We don't want just some people to play our game, which I think Wuthering Waves is kind of like this weird, like, thing where it's like, at one hand we want hardcore players, but on the other hand we want like super casual players. Farina's the best character in the game in that game by such a large degree that you're kind of required to have her and play her. Hopefully that this game's not like this. There is like a lolly-ish character that is like got fan service, and it's the cat girl. But hopefully it's not like with Farina, where if you don't play her, you're massively handicapping yourself. So if that's not the case, then that's another massive pro for this game, is they don't force lolly fan service on you, which is what, at least right now, Wuthering Waves is doing that because of the balancing with Farina. So that would be another massive pro of this game, because personally I don't want to look at 8-year-old girls and their ass being flung at me. That's what you're into. It's a fictional game. I don't really give a shit. But I don't want that in my game, so thankfully it seems like this game, they're not going to do that. But I don't know. Maybe she ends up being so busted that it's like an 80,000% DPS loss if you don't run the cat lolly character, fan service character. So anyways, as you can see, the combat, I'm not able to do it at its peak because of the mobile UI restrictions, but I can still do a decent job, for what I'm able to pull off. It still can look kind of flashy and stuff. So this would look way better if, I was on a controller, or if they added mobile customization. So, like, the potential for this game, if you really want to see, like, the real potential, you probably go watch someone play it on, like, a computer. But nonetheless, you still can do amazing stuff in this game with the combat. And for me personally, it's not an open world game. Sometimes that's an issue, but really, I don't care too much about that. I just want good gameplay. And if it's in an open world or if it's on a stage, as long as the gameplay is fun, it's not too big of an issue. There's some nice little charm stuff to have in an open world, but really at the end of the day, it's not a big deal for me. So that's why I actually could understand why someone might play this game over Wuthering Waves, because the open world aspect isn't really a selling point for me for the most part. And this game kind of has an open world to some extent, just not with combat. It's just sort of like a little tutorial place where you can like talk to people and stuff. So that's the video. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully it helps inform you on whether or not you should give this game a try. I also will say it seems like the monetization, this game's better too. You get more value for your money if you're a light spender than you do in Wuthering Waves. So I don't know for sure. I'll have to do calculations and look into that and let you know. But yeah, I'd say so far also looks like as a light spender, someone who wants to get value for their money, you're going to get more value for your money in this game. So far, it seems like. Because they have more bundles and packs that you can buy. But then again, I haven't done the conversion rates and all that stuff and what you get for free and all that. So maybe it'll come out to be the same. But yeah, I'll have to wait and, let you know in the future. So that's the video. Good luck to anyone that has to pick one of these games, to pick one or the other, because honestly, they both seem like they're offering a lot right now. So if you can play them both, which, I'm going to do, then yeah, you should, because they're both really good games, Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero. But yeah, Zenless Zone Zero, I would definitely say, is the better game overall for the market it's in, because it's more accessible for most people. Wuthering Waves probably going to become more of a niche game in comparison to this game, because it's a lot more mainstream. So yeah, that's what I'd have to say. So that's it. Bye.